Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. As you can tell by the graphics, I'm going to be talking about Four Against Darkness. I've been waiting for a couple of items to come in the mail, and it just so happens that they all arrived this weekend. So it gives me the opportunity to actually talk about some additional products that I've picked up for this game that I wanted to show you. Now, first off, Four Against Darkness is a solitaire RPG pen and paper delving game, which means that you basically play it by yourself, and you're using a variety of randomized charts, and you roll on those, and it'll determine, what the next room is, and then what will be in the room, and then you go through the basics of the interactions with the environment as you enter in. It could be combat, it could be, searching the room for treasures, it could be disarming traps or whatever. And so as you are going through this as a solo experience, you're moving your four characters through a dungeon as it unfolds through that randomization process. And then you either draw out the map as it unfolds, or you could use various other supplements like deck builders, and that's what I was using in my last episode. So a card deck that has dungeon layouts, and you randomly generate your dungeon using that as well. So so today when I got to the mailbox and checked it out, I had two more supplements for Four Against Darkness. So this is the core book, and this is what you need in order to play. All right, and it has all the basic rules. It takes your characters from level 1 to 4, and it has it has several different character classes. I think roughly 8 of them, and everything you need to play the game, with the exception of you just need 2d6 along with this, and a pencil and graph paper if you so choose to do that. So as I was running my characters through, they were starting to get to level 2 and level 3, and I was thinking to myself, all right, well, let me look into what the next stage is going to be, and that is Four Against the Abyss. So Four Against the Abyss is this booklet here, and what this does is this gives you the rules for taking those characters from levels 5 through 9. It also includes several other enhancements to your character, and I'll go through those when I start displaying this on the desktop. So I'll get back to that. Also, I picked up Caves of the Kobold Slave Masters, and this is an actual adventure module created for characters 1 to 2, and this here is now I haven't read this because it kind of tells you not to read ahead. So as I go through this, you'll actually see that playing out as my character, my four characters go through this adventure. So we'll see how it turns out, kind of together. It's meant to be done in 3 different game sessions, so that's how I'll display this particular adventure. Now I'm going to take the current 4 characters that I already have and bring them back down to first level. And so I'm going to run with those 4 characters through this adventure when the time comes. But I'll show you a little bit of this. Like I said, I don't want to go into it too much because I don't want to blow the surprise for myself. So that's the second thing that came in. And the third thing, so I'm going to switch views now because the third thing is another interesting supplement, or gaming aid that, that another player had suggested that I look into. And you can see on the graphic here, it's the double 6-sided dice. So I'm gonna switch views and show you a bit of that. So now, first of all, so I ordered the the double six sided dice, and you could just Google that, and the actual company name is it's Spark Bug, Bugg, LLC, and just double six, and you just type in double six. So you can see here. I'll let my camera zoom in. So I picked up the classic glossy ivory with black pips. You see $1.25, and the flat black with red single, all right, which was also $1.50. So in total, $5.75 for 2 dice. The shipping was kind of crazy, $3 for 2 small things. So, but I wasn't really sure when this was going to come, so it actually came either today or yesterday in the mail. So here is there's the white die, and you can see it's a D6, all right, with the, but on a D12. So it's the 1 to 6 duplicated twice, and every number is on the opposite side of the die, so it doesn't change the probabilities. But you can see it does roll. It rolls a little bit smoother than a D6. A D6 has the possibility of hitting that flat and staying there, and sliding more than rolling. So that's my white, that's the black with the red pip. And I had a bit of a surprise, and I don't know if this was a mistake or if this was a a bonus that I had missed out, but I also got a third die in the package. So now I have the three dice that I will use for this game specifically, and so this will be my 10s, my 1s, and then the roll on the table will be here. So if I roll this, I rolled a 44. Oh, look at that, 4 4s. A 44 with a, and then on let's say that's the treasure roll. That would be a 4 on the D6 for the treasure roll as well. So I'm kind of surprised. These are very nice dice. I mean, they're exactly the same size as D12. I actually had a D12 out to, it's the same as a D12, and they're pretty solid. They're they have some heft to them, and I was thinking maybe it's slightly heavier than a regular D12. But I'm pretty sure they're the same size. So we have that. So here is 4 Against the Abyss. Let's see if I can just adjust this a little bit more for you. That might be too close. I have this new camera, and let's see. Let's see how that is. Catch up. There we go. Okay, so I got this new camera, so it allows me to show these things off a little bit clearer for you, because I know in some of my older videos, these were not coming up. So some of the areas that are new here is that, as you can see here, there's expert skills, and so that's really interesting, and there's really quite a few of them. There's expert spells, at this point now. There's hirelings, and so here's the list of all the hirelings that you can purchase ahead of time before, so you can an acolyte, a bodyguard, a dungeon guide. They're quite expensive, actually. A lantern bearer, which is kind of neat. That way your character doesn't have to carry the lantern. Instead, you hire one of these guys to do that for you. A porter for carrying, any baggage you might be carrying it to the dungeon. I guess that's to help, haul out treasure or whatever. A rat exterminator. I haven't gotten into the reading yet to see what that does. A spirit carrier, or somebody just to carry, almost like a weapons caddy, so another person to carry your additional weapons and such. Professions are here as well, and these are basically NPCs that you can hire to do various services for your characters as well. There's training. So the way training works is that you can, instead of leveling up, you can choose to pick an expert skill instead of going up another level. And so that expert skill will give you a bonus in whatever you're taking that skill in. And it acts as like a passive skill boost for those very particular things that you're doing. So the expert rules uses a D8, which is different than the original rules. And the D8 works exactly the same way as the D6 did. So the D6 had a what was called the exploding six. And if you rolled the six, a natural six, then you would roll the dice again and keep on accumulating those additional points of damage or whatever, you were rolling for, or resistance and such, in order to either deal more damage or to avoid more damage if you were making, like, say, a defensive roll against a monster attacking you. The exploding D8 works in a similar fashion, just that it's a 7 or an 8 gives you that exploding, so it's kind of upping your ability in this setting, to be a little bit more dynamic and deal a lot more damage than you might have done so, or have a better chance of resisting incoming damage, as you go through. So some new monsters in here, and the monsters are much much more severe, let's say, than those in the original. I'll just flip them really fast to them, and just read them off. Actually, while I'm passing through, so the expert spells is a healing surge. All characters in play, excluding the caster, heal 2 life points. So it's a way to, heal everybody at once. Infallible missile sounds kind of like a magic missile. Life force control. This spell allows a wizard to wound himself to heal any one party member. A mass teleport, self-apparent. Aura of terror. This spell causes monsters, boss, or groups of minions to make a morale roll. Undead who never make morale rolls, final bosses, and monsters with fear attack. Any monster whose description asks you to save versus fear are immune to the spell. Reverse gaze, which will come really in handy for my characters, because my characters keep on running into Medusa, and so a reverse gaze actually turns that attack against the creature that would do it. So that would be pretty cool. There's hirelings, as I mentioned, so you can hire various characters, NPCs, retainers, to follow along and do some simple tasks and everything. They can be killed in combat. So in my mind, it also creates a different, another target. So it does kind of protect your characters in that sense. So I'm just going to flip through real quick. So you're in the abyss in this version of it. So you're actually delving down into the abyss, and so there are different content tables. So the abyss room content table, the abyss traps content table. So they're adding some some variant to what can happen above what the rules 1 through 4 had done. And I just want to get to the vermin tables. You now have orc bandits, and you can see these are level 6, and they're kind of low actually. Shrieker fungi, which is level 6. Then you have these champions of 2d6 champions of Sisclifs, serpent people warriors, level 8. So they really do up the level on these creatures, and as you're going through, ant people warriors, level 7. Kobold ghouls, level 7. Brownies, level 8. So those are just, some of the vermin, minions table. You have hairy goblins, 4d6 of them, level 6. So I mean, really, the potential for huge numbers for you to have to combat here. So they really do up the difficulty level, of some of these situations. 2d6 plus 1 ghouls, which are also level 8 undead. Dark dwarves, flying skulls, level 9. So that's the first level 9 creature that we've seen. Chaotic ratmen plus leaders. And that's another thing that this added, was that when you encounter minions, there's a chance that each group of minions has a leader attached to it as well. And then the boss tables. So you have a Dragon Man level 8 with 8 life points, which is amazing. That's going to take quite a bit to take down. A Mind Screamer, which kind of sounds like a Mind Flare, level 10. Tentacled Brain, level 9. A Ghoul King, level 10. A Lord of Zikthul, a level 11. A Major Vampire, level 10. And some of these things get multiple attacks too. So, like the Lord of Zikthul gets 4 attacks. So that's pretty, amazing, amount of attacks for these powerful creatures. A Zombie Minotaur. So now I'm on the Weird Monsters table. A Minor Vampire is level 8. A Werewolf is level 8. Gets 2 attacks. A Phasing Panther is level 7, gets 3 attacks. A Lick or Leash, or however I've always said Lick. A Lick is a level 10 undead, 4 attacks, 3 treasure rolls, so they have tons of treasure, or at least the potential for it. Abyss dragon tables, so there's a number of different types of dragons, actually quite a few. You have unique events that can take place, enchanted tables, other useful tables, and then here's the skill summary. I'll let it get focused again. So, and they tell you which, classes can take these skills. So you could see like accurate hearing is going to be a ranger, an elf, a halfling, or an S is I think it's a swashbuckler, because you can use some of the other classes that are described in some of the other books, and they specifically mention swashbucklers. So I'm guessing that's a swashbuckler, the S. But they go through all of these expert skills, and once again, characters can train one of these in lieu of going up a level when they get those abilities. Yeah, so it's warrior, cleric, rogue, barbarian, elf, dwarf, halfling, swashbuckler, and wizard. All right, so, and then the last page in the book has, just a breakdown of all the costs of the hireling retainers and professionals, the cost of special activities that they can do, and such. And then a new chart. This is where you roll the D66 to determine, what's going on, what room types and stuff. So overall, I'm really excited about this. Looking forward to getting a group of characters up to this level. And but what I'm going to do first is I'm going to run my characters through the caves of the Kobold, slave master. So once again, it's fairly thin, and actually, let me switch views here. So this booklet here is a very thin booklet, and it has it's actually only about 20 pages long. Yeah, 21 pages long, and it goes through. And the way it's laid out is that Unlike a typical adventure module like in other role-playing games, this one only has the very first part is predetermined, so it's got the preset map. And then afterwards, for part two, you're in a more randomized, dungeon crawl, like what Four Against Darkness creates with its original rule set. And then in the third part is it describes it's more of a situation that you're in and not so much a and I'll actually read that. It says here, part one, you use the map. Let's see, where did they mention part two? Part two is randomly generated, so use the map in the caves. You'll find a number of locations in chapter one. Do not start reading until your party is created. Follow the layout of the map. They continue on. Do not read the entries in advance. Otherwise, you'll kind of ruin it for you, for yourself. So I didn't want to push very far into actually reading this book because, like I said, I want to go through it and show you, in real time, at the same time as I'm experiencing it, you would experience it as well. So that's pretty much it for Four Against Darkness until I start running the actual adventure. I just wanted to show you the initial game system. So that's Four Against Darkness, and then getting my group of characters ready to advance into the abyss. Now, I recently read a post by another gamer who said that there's really not an RPG element in this game system, and I'm going to respectfully disagree. Um, if you're creating your character group, so you have your characters, you're running your characters through these dungeons, and even though it's solo and you're not interacting with another player, um, your characters are still going to develop. If you're playing them, they're going to develop their own personalities and quirks and things and behaviors that they tend to do. And so, if you're staying true to your characters, you are role playing, even though there isn't another player actually playing with you. And, these become kind of, more so storytelling, but it's still based on the dice rolls. And so I think that any time that you're playing a game similar to this, if you're telling a story and there's the randomization that of the unexpected happening, whether it be a character death or a they overcome some like extraordinary obstacle. That's role playing. That's telling a story, and then if you do like what I'm doing here, and showing it to other people so that they can see and hear the story as it unfolds as well. I mean, it's role playing. So, I don't necessarily agree with that idea that a solo RPG is not an RPG. Um, you don't necessarily need other players in order for it to become a role playing game. And if you are keeping track and recording the stories of your group of characters, then, that's just another, I think, necessary element that you can check off and say, yes, this is an RPG because now my characters have a story that I continue to build upon. So, once again, thanks for joining in. If you haven't taken a look at this game, I strongly encourage you to take a look at this game. I have a link in my I have a link on my YouTube channel on this video where you can go to Drive Through RPG and order copies of this. You can get the PDF or the hardcover or soft cover, I should say, and it's a fun game to play. And I look forward to, my next series of videos with this. So you all have a good remainder of your weekend. I look forward to seeing you over the next, couple of days. I'll probably run another video or two the next couple of days. Have a great Thanksgiving coming up if you're celebrating Thanksgiving this upcoming week. And nice long weekend for many of us. So, you can expect to see some gaming taking place, in the very near future here on Unscripted and Unchained. You all have a good weekend. Look forward to seeing you.